Welcome to another episode of Casual Cinephilia, where enthusiastic amateurs talk very passionately about movies. I'm Ian.
I'm Lorian, and today we are talking about the Simpsons short preceding Onward.
An entire 90-minute episode.
We are talking about Onward, but first...
Before we get to the good stuff.
We're gonna make this as jarring for you as it will be in the theater. The Simpsons opens this Pixar movie.
Simpsons.
And it's not like The Simpsons that's watered down so far that it doesn't feel like The Simpsons. There is negligent parenting, drug, and alcohol references in this short.
Yep.
Straight up.
Yep. The best way I can describe how I feel about it is how the little kid next to me in the theater exclaimed how they felt about it at the end of it. It ends, and they go, "What was that?"
Yeah. And here's the thing. I'm the only person I know who does actually still watch The Simpsons.
Yeah, I've stopped watching them
and
like 5 years ago, 6 years
ago.
Yeah,
they haven't been great for a little while, but this season has been bad. Like, I have considered stopping watching.
Really?
Well, because what's going to happen? Their main bread and butter has been making fun of Disney for like 3 decades now.
That's true.
So now that they're owned by Disney, they're not allowed to do some of the stuff. So there was a literal moment in a recent episode where Marge's sisters walk up to the house and one asks for a smoke and the other goes, "We can't, we're on Disney now." And then like straight to camera and then they cut on and I'm just like, oh, this is so bad. And then, I don't know, Disney seems for some reason pumped about having The Simpsons on Disney Plus, which is questionable because they're touting it as a family-friendly streaming service. And I don't know about you, but I was not allowed to watch The Simpsons when I was a kid. I watched it like junior high and on, but when I was like, the age of someone who's watching Disney Junior, which is another thing they have on there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had a very confusing allowance of cartoons I was able to watch as a kid. Like, Simpsons were not allowed, but Ren and Stimpy were.
Sure.
So, looking back, I wasn't quite sure. I feel like of those two, The Simpsons are more
used
tame.
To be a lot worse than it is now.
That is true.
They've been taming out for the whole time, just steadily getting
every
tamer.
Season, getting more and more tame. Yeah, but yeah, The Simpsons have always been that satirical, in your face, like pointing out the insanity of what's accepted, and it's kind of like South Park light, you know, like.
But it just, I was so confused when the short started.
Yeah.
It's like Disney married Fox. And Fox came with some children. The Simpsons being one of them. And Disney is like trying to be the cool stepdad. Like, no, bud, I like you. I like what you're doing. See, I'll include you in things. And Simpsons is being like, haha, fuck you, stepdad. And stepdad's just being like, that's it, sport. See, I like you. Good job. And I don't know why we're having to watch that.
So, my tinfoil hat theory is literally this entire acquisition was for Marvel.
No, I'm 100%.
And so they're trying to keep up appearances that they bought Fox for all of Fox properties. And so they're trying to make it look like they're making the effort with The Simpsons.
So confusing.
Which, I'm just going to go on a slight tangent here.
Great.
The number one thing that pissed me off about The Simpsons being the short before the thing is the short was always that stage for the Pixar animators who could blow off steam and make one of their own short films. It was always...
Which they're taking over with Spark Shorts on Disney Plus now, but I agree with you.
The theaters were where they could get that platform for the masses. And yes, I know there are millions of subscribers to Disney Plus and all that stuff, but the theater was originally for that, and it feels like they're killing that tradition, and that's what bugged me the most with it. It's like, I don't want to see a 30-plus-year-old franchise as my Pixar short.
Well, even when Pixar has done like in-universe shorts, I'm pretty sure there was a Monsters, Inc. themed short before Monsters University. You know, like, even when I do that, I'm not as fond of it. Right. Their shorts in the past have always been poignant towards the vibe of the movie that they're about to release, because they're all within studio. They know what place you need to be in emotionally to receive the beginning of the movie correctly. Like, their shorts were a way to make the experience in the theater more effective.
Yeah.
And oh boy, was I not put in a good place to start this movie by the Simpsons short.
No, it honestly, it put me off.
No, having Simpsons attached to a Pixar movie makes both things worse.
Yeah.
Just straight out.
Simple as that.
And I hope that this is going to do the same thing Coco did and ditch its short film within a few weeks.
I hope so. Yeah.
Because it'll be a much better experience for audiences if there's no short film.
Definitely. Ugh. Simpsons.
It was just so upsetting.
And Matt Groening's not... Is Matt Groening even with this? He hasn't been with The Simpsons for a decade now,
have no
right?
idea. His name is still on all the crediting, but I don't know if that's just
as a
contract thing he had, or right, exactly. But I guess we could leave that behind and get to Onward.
All right.
See how uncomfortable it feels to jump between these two topics, everyone?
Such an awkward transition. But then the movie started.
Yeah, the movie started with it started with that clip we've been seeing in trailers where it's long ago, the world had magic, whatever.
Right, yeah.
An extended version of that. Which is great. It's a good way to start the movie, but I feel like it took me a minute to get into it, not only because of the Simpsons short, because they'd shown it in a trailer as is.
Yeah.
It took me it took me until the end of that monologue to be like, okay, here we go.
It always... I'm not a big fan of opening exposition.
I thought it was appropriate for this because it was a fairy tale quest formatted...
Well, and that is
storytelling
honestly why I was okay with it. It's because knowing Pixar, they were acknowledging the trope.
Yes.
It wasn't that they were using it as a crutch. They were acknowledging that a lot of fantasy movies, even really good ones, you look at Fellowship of the Ring.
I was just going to cite those.
Opens up with a massive exposition dump at the very beginning. And so... Because you have to set the world, because fantasy is such a hard thing for the mind to accept.
And I loved how they did that. I loved how they did the world building and Pixar are masters of show don't tell.
Exactly.
They are masters of this concept. Yes. Like the part where the two wizards are walking through and the one's trying to show the guy how to do the spell right and sees the electricity and he's like, I'm going to go there, dude. Check out how easy this is.
I love that. The click, click, click. It's so easy.
And then they show the office buildings with the crenellations on top. The world design was so cute.
It was
the mushroom houses, the little dragon dog, trash unicorns. It was all good.
The trash unicorns were my favorite
spoilers.
Part. Oh, right, spoilers. Speaking of spoilers, leave it to Disney to do a absolutely phenomenal job at having such a high-stakes movie with action, adventure, intrigue, emotion, and have no antagonist. There was not an antagonist in this movie.
There wasn't.
And yet, towards the end of the second act, third act, I'm sitting, in between bawling,
right.
my eyes out, I'm sitting on the edge of my seat because it gripped me. It had me. But there was no antagonist.
Yeah. It's an interesting year. Well, it's an interesting time period for Disney with that. Because Frozen 2 was the same way. There was no antagonist in that. And the stories still work. I think that Onward was more successful in its tension building than Frozen 2.
Yes, I would
agree.
I
also think Pixar is a better studio than Disney Animation, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, it really worked without having to have a villain.
It really did. Because, I mean, the villain was sort of the concept of distance, I suppose.
Well,
like the concept of falling apart from your loved ones.
That, and I think time.
Yeah, time, perhaps modernization.
Yeah, modernization. But even that, they didn't. There wasn't ever a moment where it was like technology was bad.
No, not at all.
Like where a lot of these kind of movies, I feel, fall trapped
preachy.
to. Mm-hmm. Whereas like, you should walk outside without a cell phone. It's like, no, like they don't have a cell phone in it because magic broke it.
Right.
Like it's not that they chose to do it; they just didn't have it.
Right.
And then they realized, that thought of technology makes things easy.
Right.
But the easy way is not always the right way.
Right.
And so that was a good message, I thought.
Yeah.
And it was really well done.
It was super cute. It was also nice to see a story where, even though it did fall into the Disney trope of being a single parent, she had moved on. She had a boyfriend that seemed to be a steady thing. It wasn't like the new jarring situation.
I loved
He was
Colt
adorable.
Bronco. I loved him so much.
Speaking of stepfathers, he wasn't quite the stepfather yet, but it was a kind of a fun light thread in the background with him trying to figure out where his place as that stepfather figure might be.
Exactly.
And not always getting it right.
Yeah, he was... I loved every character in this movie. Like, even the secondary characters, like the deputies. I love their little interaction, the conversation as they're trying to deduce whether whether the spell will work or not, and it's just so funny. It was so good.
I also appreciated that after this interaction on the side of the freeway where they're pretending to be Colt, that the police figure it out.
Yeah.
That they didn't just fly off as ignorant, totally missed it people with all the hints, like they were like, something was weird about that. Oh yeah, that's weird. Let's figure this out. Like I keep saying, I really like the modern filmmaking, like specifically children's media trend towards not having the parents be total idiots. A lot of the media we consumed in our childhood, the parents were totally ignorant and often portrayed as the enemy. And I like that the parents are sometimes a hurdle, oftentimes a hurdle in modern stuff, but it's not because they're just so dumb they can't function.
Yeah. Well, and like in this movie, one of the parents is the MacGuffin, the father.
Sure.
And the mother is
she was
a protagonist with them.
Fun character, yeah.
Yeah. Like her and the Manticore.
Yeah. They were fun.
Just utter badasses trying to save their kids.
And I loved the dragon at the end made of the school.
The design
it
of
was
that
so
monster
fun.
was so good. I loved the face.
Yeah. The mascot face. Like that it broke when it got eyebrows and all of the...
Oh, it was so good.
It was.
So good. So, I'm going to talk about the emotional impact of this movie.
Just for some background clarity here, This is a movie about brothers.
Which I have a brother.
The main character is a younger brother named Ian.
Which I am a younger brother named